you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. This is especially true when it comes to people who build their careers by criticizing and mocking other people, like Idubbz, who was so good at it, he gained millions of subscribers. But what if he suddenly made a complete 180 and started calling his audience a bunch of antisocial basement dwellers, condemned most of his previous content, and even called out his own former editor for daring to share his opinions on social media?
So yes, I am willing to admit that my former editor was being very nasty, uncharitable, and fucked up towards Ethan and Hila on Twitter.
And while that would be enough to warrant labeling him a hypocrite, he also decided that making a content cop, which is exactly the type of content he condemned, is perfectly acceptable. So, let's take one last look at this attention-craving remnant of a once interesting YouTuber.
What we do here is go back.
Ian Washburn Carter, known as Idubbz on YouTube, was born on July 27, 1990, which makes him 35 years old as of today. So yeah, Ian is a bit too old for the shit he's doing. His YouTube career started in 2010 with a channel called Idubbz. It was focused on gaming content, a niche that was very common for that era of YouTube. He would continue posting on this channel until August 17, 2012. As on this day, Ian would make the life-changing decision to create Idubbz TV. And with this new channel came a shift in his content, as after a few months of preparation, Idubbz would post his very first satirical commentary video called Gaming News Crap.
Hey guys, welcome to my new channel. I decided I wanted to start a news channel. It's not channel, what am I saying? This was actually supposed to be a news show, but I feel like opinion is also very fun and interesting, more so than news.
But unfortunately, gaming news just didn't bring the views Ian was hoping for. And after a few more episodes, Idubbz would transform his gaming news into something that would finally garner the attention he always wanted.
I've decided to completely eliminate the news portion of these videos and instead focus on the Kickstarter crap because
For those of you unfamiliar, Kickstarter is a platform where you can upload your project, set a financial goal, and other people can crowdfund it, with most of these projects offering rewards for funding them. These Kickstarters range from borderline impossible, such as a Breaking Bad sequel, to complete insanity, like a new console called the Cybermatrix 1000. So Ian had plenty of content to work with, and combined with his sarcastic and mean-spirited personality, the series became quite popular. Calling him mean-spirited is a bit of an understatement though, because Ian's very first Kickstarter crap focused on a bunch of kids trying to crowdfund their zombie game.
they're willing to put down ass loads of money so that they could sit in their room and jerk it to shemale porn as you wait in anticipation for their shit of a zombie game.
And our 23-year-old Idubbz unleashed his wrath upon these children. But you can only make so much content about one website before you inevitably get bored, and so to break up the monotony, Ian created Bad Unboxing. And no, I don't mean the series where he opens fan mail that you can find on his channel nowadays. You see, Bad Unboxing started out as a parody of creators who based their content around unboxing various products. So what did Idubbz unbox first? A toothbrush. Which is pretty funny, I at least gotta give him that. Bad Unboxing was another success, and it became the second staple of his channel. Ian continued uploading Kickstarter craps, but they were now paired with the occasional Bad Unboxing to ensure that his content stayed fresh. And thanks to his consistency, he would reach 100,000 subscribers in 2015. With this milestone surpassed, Idubbz was ready to take his edgy commentary a step further. So he decided to get up close and personal, setting his sights on specific YouTubers. Idubbz the Content Cop was born, and his first arrest would be Jinx Reload, a typical reaction YouTuber who was trying to make himself look more important than he really was. But Content Cop wasn't just planning to arrest Jinx. No, he was about to show the internet the definition of police brutality.
You don't get a break in the beginning. No resting, 100%, 24/7 grind.
Damn, this on the grind.
You gotta eat, sleep, and shit, YouTube. You gotta suck
Shit, YouTube! This is not a manhunt, okay? This is only half Jinx's fault, okay? The other half lies squarely on the people that watch him. Do Fetty Wap next. Jinx, can you please do a Hobson interview? Bruh. LMFAO, keep 'em coming.
And this was just the first content cop. It would only get more brutal from here. But these videos were all viral sensations and solidified Idubbz as one of the faces of the edgier side of YouTube. Eventually though, Content Cop's warpath did reach its end, and in October 2017, the last video of the series was uploaded. Unfortunately that isn't true anymore, but we'll talk about that soon enough. From here on out, Idubbz would go back to mostly uploading bad unboxing, with the occasional throwback to Kickstarter crap, where he would take a look at the projects he used to criticize and see how they're doing after all those years. Ian would eventually branch out to just making whatever he felt like, and people enjoyed watching this kind of content. But on May 18th, 2023, Ian dropped a bombshell of a video titled I misdealed Idubbz. And while it wasn't as controversial as the video about his girlfriend's OnlyFans or his semi-documentary, it was the most hypocritical. I misdealed Idubbz is definitely the most personal video Idubbz has uploaded to his channel, but also the one that has aged the worst. Ian talks about his personal growth, admitting to being a very immature and hateful person during his 20s. He also mentions how he now regrets making Content Cops, and that he has decided to unlist the entire series to avoid sharing any more hatred and bullying, ending the video by saying that his fanbase is full of toxic people and that he has failed to realize. And I have officially run out of nice things to say, so it's finally time to elaborate on why I believe this video was questionable even back when it came out, and why due to recent events, it turned into a steaming pile of bullshit. At the beginning of the video, Ian apologetically mentions Tana Mongeau, a Content Cop target. More specifically, he references this incident. No one else is named throughout the rest of the video, and the apologies meant for the people he hurt with his content are very impersonal and, in my opinion, half-assed. But that's obviously none of my business, because Ian doesn't care, which is a very strange thing to say for someone with so much empathy. But don't worry, because at least Jinx, Content Cop's first rodeo, is allowed to share his opinion. After all, Idubbz's tongue did slip and say the N-word a few times, and his audience was so nice to Jinx, he ended up deleting his channel. Aside from that, there are two other things that really bothered me. Firstly, Idubbz treats his audience with a lot of disdain, as if he wasn't the guy who was validating their behavior since 2013. Secondly, Ian's entire legacy is made up of mockery and critique. At the very least, you could move to a different channel, because Idubbz TV was throughout most of its existence just dedicated to absolutely dunking on people. But at the end of the day, he is just a guy who gained a new ability.
I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy.
I have been avoiding it until now, but we finally have to talk about the gigantic elephant in the room.
Wakey wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
The new H3H3 Content Cop and the Content Deputy. And while these videos would be tolerable if they had a bit of self-awareness, we instead got a 35-year-old man dressing up as a policeman with his very questionable friends.
Do you think it was cool when I was running around in an oversized cop outfit? That was cool to you.
So why did these clowns gather? Well, meet Ethan Klein. Known as H3H3, he is an American-Israeli YouTuber that was mostly focused on comedy sketches, some even featuring Idubbz himself. But staying just a funny internet personality is never enough. So what's the next best thing you can do? Easy. Start focusing on politics. It was called Leftovers, a left-wing podcast with two hosts, Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein, and it had a successful 2-year run. The final episode focused on the Palestine-Israel conflict. Hassan was on the side of Palestine, Ethan stood behind Israel, and while they had a civil discussion, both had very different opinions, and the podcast was put on an indefinite hiatus. due to these differences. But Ethan, along with his wife Hila, would continue making their own podcast called The H3 Show. And this is exactly when everything went fucking wrong.
This guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism.
How can you be surprised when your Discord is literally full of fucking...
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the fucking Jew bag, this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right? Idubbz reposted this on Twitter. This guy is such a pathetic moron. He can't keep track of his own bullshit.
Yeah.
He goes...
Alas, Ian decided to step in, because after all the things he said about becoming a good person, what better way to prove it than by making more of the most toxic content you ever made. I'm just gonna give you a quick recap of his content cop and content deputy, because I don't want to waste your time and there is enough slop on YouTube dissecting this drama already. It began with Ethan mentioning that their dog has giardia, a nasty infection that causes diarrhea, and that his son, who, and I'm quoting Ethan here, is a small baby that spends most of his time crawling around the floor and putting everything in his mouth, got infected too, causing him to have pretty bad diarrhea. This eventually led to Ela Klein getting infected as well. Having made as many enemies as they have, a lot of people decided to interpret this in the worst way possible, saying that their house is full of shit, they're mistreating their dogs, and abusing their children. And one of these people was Froggy Tonic, Idubbz's former editor, who only worked for him during Creator Clash 2, which is a charity boxing event between YouTubers organized by Idubbz and his wife Vanessa. Froggy was a fan of H3 until the show slowly started losing track in the middle of 2024, which is when Froggy started tweeting posts that were critical of the podcast but still respectful. Ian stayed silent, not interacting with any of these posts but still following him on X. Ethan took this personally and blamed Idubbz for not calling out his editor and refusing to publicly announce he was still on Ethan and Ela's side, culminating with both of them indirectly telling Ian to go f*** himself. Idubbz, of course, just added fuel to the fire in the form of his content cop. He tried to rationalize the video by saying that he felt really defensive because H3 started attacking him first. The two main points of the video are, number 1, Ian talking about his relationship with Ethan and describing it as purely transactional, and number 2, taking the moral high ground, calling H3 out for his racist, mean, and hypocritical comments made during his show. Ethan fired back as soon as he could with a whole 4-hour podcast episode just dedicated to his live reaction, and a shorter, more digestible video posted on his main channel. I summed up his counter arguments in 2 points. Idubbz purposely didn't mention the CPS call and visit that Ethan and Ela had to endure due to someone giving CPS an anonymous tip, which they believe was insinuated by Denims, a Twitch streamer that Idubbz was dancing with in his Content Cop intro. Around the same time as the CPS incident, Ethan also received 2 human skulls in his mail, which is one of the reasons why he felt betrayed when Idubbz stayed silent instead of showing any kind of support. I think it's time for a small break.
Am I the asshole for slamming a child in the stomach with a metal pipe at the grocery store? Hear me out. I was buying my groceries as usual.
So both sides exchanged fire, and to Idubbz's surprise, his audience didn't immediately take his side like it used to. Still, Ian tried to salvage the situation by making a follow-up video called Content Deputy. But this time, it wasn't so much a coherent collection of arguments as it was an emotional tangent.
Me and Ethan are both meant to be rolling around in pig shit all day long, and other people are meant to do boxing or debating or whatever else.
The main takeaway from the Content Deputy is that Idubbz and his wife Vanessa have stepped away from Creator Clash as its hosts due to all the drama Content Cop stirred up. Although not directly stated in the video, I believe one of the reasons why they left Creator Clash is because a participant of the event, Lena Ayar,
who is an H3H3 employee, suffered a lot of online harassment because of iDubbbz, which eventually led to her stepping away. In order to save face of Creator Clash and themselves, iDubbbz and Anissa knew the best course of action would be to distance themselves, with iDubbbz indirectly stating this himself.
It's either you're gonna talk shit like a foul beast on the internet, or you're gonna have a charity event. You know, it really can't be both.
However, Ethan isn't the type of guy to let things go. So, he responded with another 4-hour podcast episode, and thankfully, this was the end of their public exchange of opinions. Anissa had some minor emotional outbursts on X, but nothing major. Overall, the drama only made iDubbbz even less likable. Still, the final nail in the coffin came in the form of his latest video. Ian talks about concern trolling, which is when someone fakes caring about a topic in order to troll people or get attention. At the beginning of the video, Idubbz takes a jab at his audience for daring to have an opinion that's different to his.
In the last couple of videos, I got a lot of comments. Now, I don't have time to read all 150,000 comments, but I also don't want to let down my audience, you know? I want them to know that I hear you. I hear your concerns, and I'm listening.
Then we managed to return back to topic, and Idubbz talks about concern trolling in politics.
You can kind of look at the political spectrum as like a spectrum of concern, and people on the left seem to be generally more concerned than people on the right.
Only to suddenly stop and start complaining about his audience again. More specifically, he focuses on members of his Discord server that he considers concern trollers, and stalks their social media accounts to prove that they're concern trolling. Yeah, this is the same iDubbbz that doesn't have the time to read the comments on his videos. Obviously, the video wasn't well received, and if anything, only solidified Ian Washburn as someone who isn't able to handle the same amount of critique he likes to dish out. We've talked about iDubbbz's beginning, peak, redemption, and fall. But I feel like I understand him even less now than I did before. It feels conflicting to watch him, like seeing someone put on different masks depending on who he's talking to. Sometimes he's nice, empathetic, kind.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil, and I'm like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be, a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense,
and then suddenly,
I don't know, I thought the skulls thing was kind of humorous to hear that.
Just like a death threat to a father, a family.
So what's the conclusion? Well, quit while you're ahead and don't look back, because if you spend enough time backtracking, you might just get lost. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more drama.